Good morning and welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It is great to see you this Monday morning. Welcome back. Cannot believe we're already into December. I am busy doing some snoodling over here. I put together a show rather quickly, as you can imagine, because we had a gallery night show last night, and it really was an amazing night. Lots of beautiful things were sent in, as always. Andrea, great to see you. One of the beautiful things we looked at, your poppies, was in there. My sound is low. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for telling me my sound was low. And thank you, Streamlabs, for resetting my dashboard without any notice at all. Good. We got it right out of the gate. It was a beautiful gallery night last night, and it was great to see so many different pieces. That's the thing, isn't it? Is seeing such a variety of styles from so many different people in so many different places. It really was a fun night. But it put me into a situation where this morning I realized that I needed some content for this morning's show. And you know who came to the rescue? The McGowan Guild came to the rescue in a huge way, because I saw on the mail table from coming back from Thanksgiving, I saw, thank you, Dave, thank you. I don't know how that happens, but it does happen. And I'm hoping everybody's realizing, you are realizing for sure, that I put the show at 12. And I'm still deciding. We have been going back and forth, vacillating on this for the last season about whether 11 or 12 is the better time for us, Eastern Standard Time. So the jury is still out for me. I'm wondering how you all feel about that. In the summer, it was better for me to go earlier because then I would do stuff with the kids. At this time of year, it could go either way. In the case of this morning, I definitely needed a few more minutes to put the show together, after last night. Busyness, and we ended at like 9:30 last night. So let me know what you're thinking. I should maybe put a survey up, but I know not everybody's on Facebook. In any case, I was saved, not in this case by the Bell, but by the McGowan Guild, because on the mail table was waiting for me the most current McGowan newsletter. Now, I realize it looks like this. I'm realizing, and this behind me, right, so we'll talk about this featured cover piece as well. I realized that I have been super remiss in not talking enough about the McGowan Guild. And part of that is stupidity on my part. So let's talk about that stupidity in just a minute. Let me just say good morning. Andrea, I loved seeing the poppies last night. I hope you saw last night's episode. I know you're in the UK. Thank you so much. Dave, great to see you. Catherine, great to see you. Karen, great to see you. Is it cold in Black Forest, Colorado? I bet it is terribly cold and cloudy. Oh, okay, so you are back in Black Forest, because I'm headed to Maryland, Delaware at the end of the week. I was going to say, oh my gosh, if you're there, but you are already back in Colorado. Sharon, great to see you in British Columbia. Good morning, Melissa. Great to see you. Your house and your posts from your salt box are such pretty and inspiring. You find the prettiest things to post. Great to see you, my friend. Judy, great to see you. You like 11 better, but you're adaptable. Yeah, I'm curious to see what you all think, because I could go either way, with the exception of mornings like this where I was live late and I haven't got content ready, and then I ran the kids to school, and it just limited time. But I was very, very happy, and I felt like it was fate that it turned out the way that it did this morning, and that this newsletter was waiting for me, because I thought, is there going to be content for me, or am I going to be pushing the show off to another day? We have such great content today. It's incredible. So I want to start off by saying, and I will keep an eye on the thread. If you're having conversations, I want to join in too. Sharon, good morning. From cold and sunny Vancouver. Happy to catch the live before you go off to work. Great. So Sharon, you probably like it at 11 too better. Is that maybe a thing? If you're headed to work, because I know you tune in a lot. So, McGowan, right? So I thought, right, my bad, I thought that until I spoke at the McGowan Guild like a few weeks ago in New York, right? That's the Vestal New York Guild. Until I spoke there, I thought that the McGowan Guild was made up of McGowan certified teachers, right? Total shame on me. I ought to know better, but I didn't know that. And there's not as many McGowan Guilds as there are, for example, ATHA Guilds. So I want to talk about this right now, because I want to talk about, as an organization, McGowan exists, and I haven't been telling you about them. I know a lot of new people are coming to the craft through this channel. And I ought to have said by now that this organization exists, and it might be a great sort of research project for you, depending on where you are in the country, because I know that there are a lot of sort of blackout areas in the United States where ATHA is not present. And it might be and I know a lot of you are in those sort of underserved areas and you don't have a guild, you don't have an organized guild like an ATHA, or just an informal guild, like for example, the Little Roadie Thrummers, like, a non-ATHA guild. I know a lot of you are in that boat and you wish that there was something closer to you, but you don't know, but you checked ATHA and, there isn't one. So interestingly enough, let's hit this angle first before we go into content. Oh, it's there for you, Andrea. Oh, I missed the show. I will watch tomorrow in a bit of a tiz. Yeah, I feel that. Don't know if Judy has told you my news. No, Judy has not told me your news. I think we are all anticipating the news now, though. Linda, great to see you. Good morning in New Jersey. And welcome home, Karen, for sure. So, okay, so let's start here. I want to talk about what the McGowan Guild does, has, offers, where you can find them, what they do, what it could mean for you to participate in the guild at a subscribe to the newsletter level, at I attend the guild level, at a I would like to be certified in rug hooking level, all of the different sort of tiers of service and fun, right, that is associated with this guild. Because I have to say, when I was in New York at the Vestal group, that was the week of Halloween, right after my book launch. It was so super fun. It was crazy. It was a really lively group, a very friendly group, a very large group. It seemed like there were lots of friendly faces. So I first want to talk about where the guilds are. So we ought to start there, and then I want to look at the newsletter, and then I want to transition to Pearl McGowan. I want to just start a month of talking about Pearl McGowan. We haven't done anything, none of Pearl's books. We haven't been talking about her patterns lately. I want to get back into that because she really is like the matriarch of the business. She made rug hooking happen, right? Off her back, all of us exist. So I want to make that transition in the next few days. But in this moment, I looked up, and you can too, you don't have to do it right now, but I looked up the Pearl McGowan Guild. And so it's just McGowanGuild.com. And when you go in there, you have options about joining the guild, this, that, or the other, lots of choices. And there's a history tab where you can see some beautiful early rugs. Extraordinary. It's just an extraordinary history. Board of Directors introduces you to the chapters. Education, if you're interested in being certified as a rug teacher. Member services, there's lots of different departments, but I'm clicking on chapters. So let's see. Oh, it's not good, Andrea. Have you emailed me yet? Okay, I'm going to, start a chapter is a button. I didn't even see that button. So there's a video when you click on find a chapter or start a chapter. Now think about this. This is kind of a big deal because in my mind, I've been thinking, is there a local rug hooking guild? When you search it, you get ATHA. And if there isn't an ATHA chapter that's near you, you think there's no rug hooking group near you. But wait, in Arizona, there is a chapter. California, Idaho. There's descriptions of the chapters as well. Iowa, Maryland, Michigan. Looks like there's 2 in Michigan. Missouri, New York. That was the one I was recently at. That's guild number 1. Ohio, the Emerald Guild. Pennsylvania. There's 2 in Pennsylvania. There is the hooking chapter number 83. I think that's just the Pittsburgh Rug Hooking McGowan Guild chapter, and the other one is the Conestoga Guild in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So interesting. Interesting that there are guilds out there that I haven't been talking about. It could well be that you have and you belong and you know this group already and they are wonderful people. But I feel awful that so much time has gone by and I haven't mentioned that there is another sort of guild system for rug hookers within the United States. So something to think about. Definitely check out the McGowanGuild.com webpage, right? This is I knew about this and I knew about certification and all that part of it. But I didn't realize that there were guilds that were available for all rug hookers, whether you are a certified teacher or not. So let's look at this newsletter because it really is gorgeous. Now it comes perforated like this, right? And this is meant to be put into a larger folder so that you can keep all the newsletters. If you're thinking, is it a newsletter that just has black and white pages and tells you what the president ate for lunch last week? No, you can see it's a very colorful, essentially, magazine. So I want to look together at this and see what features are in the magazine, what's there for you as someone approaching for the first time. So the announcements, I love how the cover is being used actually as like magazine real estate. News is on the front cover and the table of contents is in the front cover, which makes a lot of sense if you've got it clipped into a binder, you know. So in this issue, oh shoot, I'm gonna have to change my glasses and they're not here. All right, I'll make it work. I'll make it work. Just kidding. Okay, inside this issue, cover, Winter Fox by Jan Frank. Let's look at this. This is the image that's behind me. Let's look at this first together. And let's see. Okay, Winter Fox by Jan Frank. Absolutely gorgeous piece, isn't it? Don't you just love the sort of pixelated patterning that is on the fox? Sharon says, unfortunately, there is not a guild chapter in Western Canada. No. So Shannon, let me ask you this. This is on my mind all the time. Is there a guild at all where you are? Is there a rug hooking guild at all? There's a very specific reason why I'm asking that. I'm going to hold on that because I want this episode to be about McGown and the McGown Guild. But let me know. I'd love to know how many of you are geographically in a place where there is not a rug hooking guild near you and you wish that there was, right? You would attend, you would like to make buddies, you would like to go see stuff and hear people talk, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just trying to get a sort of baseline on this because I really, for myself, with this platform, would like to know where the gaps are in the country, right? Where those spots are, where there are people who would love to show up and you know, work together, learn, do projects, maybe a little bit of outreach, having occasional rug shows or little bazaars or whatever, right? It could be a lot. It could be a lot of fun. So in this issue, there are features like Meet the President, Zooming into the Land of Nod, First and Latest, Rudolph Runoff, Triple Swatching. That's interesting, isn't it, using the swatches? And the Birches. So let me show you what some of these articles look like because I was really surprised. I do get this newsletter. Sorry. And, you know, I glance at it, but again, I had an absolute, I was holding a terrible misconception about the nature of the organization, and I didn't realize that it was so inclusive, so, and available. If you are in one of the regions where there's a chapter, hey, that's really fun news, right? So again, this piece by Jan Frank is absolutely beautiful, stunning. Fox, the way that the sky is patterned, the trees, that whole tree line forms its own pattern. Lots of great effects in the belly of the fox, in the fur, and the tip of the tail, and in that really heavily sort of pixelated, almost Art Nouveau fill on the body of the fox. Just the posture of the fox is really beautiful. It's such a stunning piece. Sharon says, we have an AFA Guild, which includes British Columbia and Washington State, I believe. Hi, Sharon. I would love to have something here in the Vancouver area. Interesting. The body does look like leaves. You know, it's like heavily patterned in the sort of Art Nouveau style. And color-wise, it's very warm. We were talking about this last night during the gallery show. You know, having warm colors together in the same composition as cool colors creates a lot of theater and a lot of contrast and is very pleasing to the eye. Sometimes you see a piece and you don't know why you love it so much. There are 100 different tricks, if not 1,000, that could be sort of compelling you to love a specific piece, but sometimes you don't know why or what exactly it is. Well, it's often the play between warm colors and cool colors. It is often that. So we're starting off with a beautiful cover. And again, I just want to show you a sort of run through. That is a good question, Sharon. McGown recognize punch? That is a good question. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say yes, only because I know that at the teaching certification thing, the class, the get together in class every year in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, I know that there is a heavy punch component. I know there are people there who submit punch stuff to that rug show. So based on that absolute knowledge alone, I would say they absolutely recognize punch, right? I'm going to say absolutely. Um, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. So we have a message from the president. And let me start here because this really is a nice tone. The president is Laura Kenyon. And I happen to know her because she's in Rhode Island, and her sister is Deborah Walland. And I've met them both. And Deborah is a buddy. I've done a video at her place that is in a beautiful mill in Jamestown, North Kingston, that part, seaside rug hooking. Beautiful space in the mill. I had a nice walkthrough video visiting with her, kind of fooling around and looking at her stuff. And her sister is Lauren, who is the president. I met them both also last year because they submitted pieces that went into the Hartford show. Remember, I put up that rug hooking show in Hartford. They went into that show, and they both seem like absolutely wonderful people. So I was really happy to see that name because I can put a face to the name, and I really, really like. The last time I spoke to Laura, she was recommending a bakery in Mystic, Connecticut, and then I took off there, and it really was the best bakery. So she starts with the president's message saying, "Here at the Guild, we are thinking about what you need. How can we help you with your rug hooking journey? As a Guild, we are working to connect each other with more resources in the rug hooking community. In the upcoming months, look to our emails, newsletters for opportunities to participate in our expansion. We are working to develop our social media presence alongside this. We go forward so that we both build upon what we have and make improvements. The Guild is here for you. The knowledge that we collectively have should be shared within the community, both seasoned and new hookers, to continue the craft." And then they ask, "Would you be willing to do this? Stop by, write an article." And it's sort of a shout out for lots of different angles. Does McGown reckon? Yep, I already got that one. Sorry. So it's a much longer message, but it is a very inclusive message and pulling the ball in your court. What are you interested in? What would you like them to do as an organization to serve you better, right? I think that's quite important. I keep moving my chair because there's a moon behind my head, and I feel like it is turning into a halo, which is absolutely sacrilegious in my case. I keep trying to move in front of the moon to not have that effect. Christmassy, but maybe not appropriate, right? So then it goes on to a little bit of news message from the editor talking about the National Guild schools, which are ever popular. The Country Inn Rug School in September, the Maryland Shores in April of next year in Ocean City, Maryland. And then we get into some short articles. And I love the format of this magazine, of this periodical, because we're talking about very short articles, just like bite-sized bits of information that are extremely helpful and quite technical. The first one, let's look at the first one first. So we have an example, is written by Jane McGowan Flynn, who is the granddaughter of Pearl McGowan. And this page is called Pearl's Pastels. We are rapidly reaching the end of Pearl's Pastels. So it must be, and I do have all of the previous issues, so I'll have to look. It seems like Jane has been putting examples of her grandmother's pastels into the past issues of the newsletter. So give me a little bit of time and I'll dig those up too. I bet those are absolutely beautiful, serving as fine art, right? Absolutely serving as fine art. Jane says, "I don't ever go into the boxes looking for something to stimulate the imaginations of our members without having very deep and inspiring thoughts of my grandmother. So many of these pastels were created over 75 years ago, and they continue to inspire color plans today." This is number 662. This is called Prosperity. It is a very simple design motif which repeats to form a delicious opportunity for you to enhance the simplicity with your application of color. This design could be done very well in a hit or miss fashion, but what Pearl represents here is more appealing to me. and it goes on to talk more specifically about the colors, the actual colors that are being used and the swatch sets. But I thought, what a beautiful and endearing hat tip to her grandmother. I did not know that that Pearl McGowan had done pastels as color plans for her pieces, and I'm sure for teaching. Hang on, I just wanted to show you, there was one more. I might have forgotten to put it in, but I found another beautiful pastel on the McGowan website, the McGowan Guild. Hold on, let me see if I can find it again. Dang it. There it is. There it is. Let me see if you can see this on my phone. I'm showing you a phone, which is not super helpful, but you can get the gist of it. That's a pastel. So Pearl did a bunch of pastel drawings, right, using pastel as a medium to create color plans for what look like small rugs, maybe for teacher training or for beginners. But what a gift to have a collection of essentially fine art, wall art from Pearl, as well as this amazing legacy of rug design, rug collecting, and a series of books, right, that are unparalleled. So we move from there onto a chapter, onto another article. It's not a chapter, it's just the 2 pages. And again, I think this is incredibly, what word am I looking for? Just satisfying. I love seeing short articles, right? Like personally, I love seeing shorter articles than, I'm not like picking on Rug Hooking Magazine at all, but there is kind of a trend in Rug Hooking Magazine for extremely long articles. It's fun to see, for me, it's fun to see lots of different things. So I love this format. This spread is by Susan L. Cox, and it's called Zooming into the Land of Nod. And it starts like this. In the summer of 2023, Treasure Valley Rug Hookers, and that's the Boise, Idaho area, hosted the McGown Fairy Tale exhibition that had been touring the country. As part of that event, we planned several classes. One of these classes was to be taught by Liz Marino from Massachusetts. And unfortunately, Liz fell ill and broke her kneecap, oh no, a few weeks prior. I think it looks like, I'm just paraphrasing, she scheduled a multi-week class, giving us 2 weeks between each session to to complete the lesson. Each time we came to class, we would be ready to share what we'd completed. Okay, so over a series of Zoom classes, it looks like the people who are participating in this particular challenge were able to work on / complete this beautiful image that is called The Land of Nod. And it is part of the Golden Age of Fairy Tale series that's been created by Honey Beehive, right, for the exhibition. Honey Beehive created the patterns for the exhibition. And this is one of them, Land of Nod. So you can see as we get a little bit closer, and we always love on this show to look at different examples of the same composition, because it's always inspiring and interesting to see apples compared to apples, isn't it? Not in terms of, I think this one's good, better, or best, but in terms of, oh, I like that color. Oh, I like the way they outlined that. I like the way that button looks. I'd like to put some more buttons on. I like the color of the flowers, right? The color of the sky. When you see different examples, it just gives you more choices, doesn't it? So this is a beautiful example done by Dana Soinas, I think, Soinas, P-S-O-I-N-A-S, from New York. Beautiful example of the Land of Nod. Very, very soft, really glowing in the background. Dreamlike expression on the child's face. Looks like the child's maybe dressed in, that could be like a little cape jacket. It's that kind of thing, how boys and girls used to wear those little sort of bolero type jackets. Very sweet, very peaceful. The tree is real proportionate to the child. It's a tiny little tree. And there's stars out, so suggesting that it is turning to be evening. Really pretty example. And another very nice example, there's many of these, I'm just showing you a few. Catherine Buttrick of Idaho. This is a beautiful example, very different indeed. There's vines, leaves wrapping around the tree. In this case, not flowers, right? A little bit darker, a bit further into the evening with this example. Darker hair on the child gives it more of a silhouette quality, more of a cameo quality. Absolutely different, right? This one I liked very much. And remember, I'm taking photos of photos, so some are better qualities than others. Bill Florick of Massachusetts. This is very soft all around. The swirls in the child's hair and the sort of lilt, the tilt to the eye, very different for me. The child looks very different. I really liked that. I really liked the soft yellows in the background. But you can see that each of these examples are quite different from each other. In this case, Susan L. Cox herself, who is the author of this piece, on the right, and on the left, and Susan L. Cox is from Idaho, as is on the left Leslie DeMarco, also from Idaho. And you can see in this case there has been a very noticeable substitution. We're looking at an owl instead of the child figure. So interesting, right? Interesting how far you can go. I love that more and more. I'm sure I'm slow to the game, right? I'm sure it's me. It's not McGowan. It's me. They're doing stuff that's very, very different and contemporary. And I can really see a shift, in the last years, more and more stuff that's different. And, when Sharon says, do they do punch? They definitely do punch. They're doing a lot of contemporary stuff, right? It's not, the organization is not sort of anchored in the past, right? It was formed in the past, right? It has this wonderful and beautiful history that is our legacy as rug hookers. But they really are keeping up with the times. And I think looking at this newsletter really reminded me, and being at Vestal, that day that I was speaking, I obviously spent some time fooling around, visiting people at their tables and seeing the kinds of work that people are doing. Really fun. Now, I'm looking at the next pages and I'm seeing, before we get there, show, share, and brag. So there are regular Zoom meetings for members who want to get on and socialize and show something. And that is very good to know. And then there's a welcome page welcoming the new members in the various chapters across the country. So lots of information there. And then that brings us to hooking an Oriental rug, the journey. And this is part 4. So this has been an ongoing feature by Jennifer Curran. And you can see, I won't go into great detail, right? But you can see that this is a very sort of helpful, technically very helpful article. This is part 4 in a series. So we are looking at having 3 prior to this that would give us lots of information on how Jennifer got this far, thus far. So interesting to see someone, their color palette, hooking it as they go, showing you specific stitches and techniques to give this rug a specific look. Now, I will say it is still my impression that the McGown Guild is on the technical side. If we're talking about technical versus creative, in my mind, my impression, and I could be wrong, and I'm always happy to learn that I'm wrong, and I'm always quick to correct myself. My impression is that it's still very technical. And I suppose it would be because it's a guild that offers certification in teaching. And traditionally, this style of teaching has been very technical as opposed to pantsy, meaning flying by the seat of your pants. So in that regard, even though this periodical is like 53 pages, it is chock full of really a lot of visuals to help you do technical aspects of rug making. And that is extremely helpful. There aren't any advertisements in this magazine. So you think like 53 pages, that's not a lot. Well, it is a lot when there's this much content, right? So the newsletter, I think, is incredibly, incredibly well done, incredibly handy, and very forthcoming in terms of showing how things are done. I like the sentiment of Laura's at the beginning saying, what can we do for you on your journey? What are you looking for and what can we do for you? This is another of those technical articles that is absolutely beautiful and creative by Liz Marino, double and triple whipping. And she says, I love this method for finishing my hooked rugs, especially for wall hangings. Now, what she's talking about is when you finish the edges with whipping, and then you do more rounds of whipping. So whipping upon whipping upon whipping, right? So in this case, 2 to 3, double and triple whipping. And you can see that it's a technical article where she's showing you exactly what you need to do, taking the guesswork out of it, right? So another beautiful article with some really shining pieces like this piece I just love. I love the quiet and the calm of it. It reminds me of Cape Cod so much. In Maine, just a beautiful, beautiful little cottage scene. Also present in the same spread with this geometric, right? So unusual, right? This is as different as it could be from the cottage. And then yet again, same article, Liz Marino, looking at a monochromatic bunny that is all in black and white. Technically very difficult. I'm sorry, this one's a little bit out of focus. That's my fault. Absolutely beautiful. So lots of different styles being represented and quite a few techniques for one newsletter. There's another article in between. I don't want to show you everything because I don't want to do complete spoilers. Um, oh, Judy says I think it's a PJ top and bottom, the buttons together at the waist. You know, that was what I was thinking at first, and then I second guessed myself because those buttons looked like they came apart for a reason. Interesting. Yeah, you know, maybe because it's bedtime, the little one was allowed to wander outside and sit in the tree for a little while. What a nice routine at bedtime, right? So the next page is an article by Kathy Molds called First and Latest, and they're doing that thing where you choose like your first rug that you worked on and your most recent. And then we're brought to the next article, which is by my buddy Deborah Walland, a Rudolph runoff. And I just thought this is so perfect for the season. The caption says both pillows are finished with single crochet edging, giving a folksy look. They will reside in separate homes. They are super, super beautiful. And Deborah says, this October I designed a simple Rudolph pattern for Christmas. I challenged my sister to a hook-off. We both decided to try a primitive style and interpreted it our own way. We didn't share information with each other, and I'm not telling who did which. Oh, isn't that funny? We both hooked in a mid-six cut. Wait a minute. I have to say, Deborah, in case you're watching, I think the one on the left is yours, just judging from your style and the amount of hit or miss you do that is like so clever. That would be my guess. But it is a fun thing when someone in the family hooks. She says at the bottom, okay, so wait a minute. We both hooked in a mid-six cut, but these are two different pillows. One incorporates a majority of textures to demonstrate her idea of the primitive concept. She used neutral colors. Oh, I think I'm wrong, because it's a Christmas pattern for a colonial home. To add interest instead of color, she used random echoing for the background and added a checked border. Well, I am wrong. So the one on the left is actually Laura's, and the one on the right is Deborah's. Ooh. The other pillow was hooked with an eye to contrast with larger color blocks in the background. Yep. More sort of broken, more abstract color blocks, right? The one on the right. She wanted to mimic the tradition of using what wool is available by running colors into each other. She used traditional greens and reds for the Christmas feel. She also hooked a nod to Magdalena Briner with the double halo outline. Oh, very pretty. Very pretty. They're both such beautiful pieces, right? And then we move on to, well, there is an article in between on triple swatching, which I think is absolutely stunning. So in other words, using your dyed swatches, right? Triple swatching. Because you see, well, I'm not showing that one. That's one that I'm holding off on. It is a super handy technical article about using color in swatch sets because they are ombre swatch sets, right? Not ombre. Yeah. No, yes, ombre, that go from one tonal value from almost absence of color to full sort of body of that specific tone, right? Adding no blacks or whites. So interesting thinking about using swatch sets like that. And it's a very simple article. It's put very simply. If you have swatch sets or you've picked some up lately, it's very, very useful. Now, this one is the next article because I am doing some skipsies here. Two versions of The Birches by Helen Mar Parkin. And she says, I was asked to teach this pattern to the combined trainee junior class this fall at South Central to explain what a pictorial is and how to hook it. Several people in the class had experience with fine cuts, but few had tried to hook a realistic scene depicting something in nature. I explained that using a number 3 and number 4 cut would allow them to achieve a lot of detail and subtle shading. Now, the piece is called The Birches. This is pattern number 715, designed by Jane McGown Flynn and measures 11 by 14. It depicts two trees in the foreground at the edge of a stream or lake, with distant hills and a small house on the other side of the water. I suggested that the reflection would be the most challenging part of the project, as you are trying to show the mirror image of the hills and sky as well as the surface of the water. Depending on the weather, the water might be smooth or choppy, and the sky might be cloudless or stormy. It was important to consider it was important to consider also the time of day and location of the sun, sunrise, midday, evening, as well as the time of year. All those decisions would affect color choices for the sky, trees, and other vegetation. So this is a much longer article. It's a 2-page article, right? It's much longer than I'm reading, but it's a 2-page article, and it shows, again, same as before, something that we love, I think, seeing the same image twice, done in 2 different ways. And let me just show you how it's presented here. Okay. And basically there's a massive seasonal change from one image to the next, which makes it so interesting to look at side by side. It's nice that they're put facing each other in the newsletter, because it is possible to look at them at the same time and say, I see. Now, this is on the back cover, and this is Pretty Posies, hooked by Connie Bradley. Beautiful piece on the back cover. I just love this. A very simple design, so beautifully hooked. God, I love this piece so much. You know, I normally don't go for brown. In this case, I can't imagine anything else being there. It is so pretty. It's a nice warm composition. The leaves, the green leaves, are the cool color in this piece, right? Because the peachiness, the rosiness, the brown, those are all warmer ones. We're seeing the cone flower, the sort of tulip, different kinds of flowers, 4 flowers going around the borders. A very different kind of composition, isn't it? Because we're used to, in rug hooking, seeing flowers in the center and then a sort of pattern or scroll going around, and that's the most traditional style. This is very different. In this case, it almost works like a Hawaiian teveve with the 4 flowers in the corners and then a wild, very cheerful confetti fill. Right? Confetti. Judy says it is kind of a mauvey brown. It is, isn't it? It is a mauvey brown. There is something really rosy about this composition that glows. And just within the background, you see some areas that seem to glow more than others because there's a higher concentration of the lighter or maybe the pinker wool strips. It's absolutely beautiful. I love the way that the confetti is done here in conjunction with the dots. It almost looks like a little bit of snow. It's beautiful patterning. It's very, very different. I really, really am so in love with this piece. Now, I wanted to move forward in this conversation because we have not talked about Pearl McGown for a long time. We talk about a lot on the show. Let me make a pause right here before I forget, because before I transition to the next part of the show, we're doing really good for time today. I have to show you my incredibly disorganized system for reminding you that things are happening. Let me remind you that a few things are happening before I forget again. I forgot to give you a bunch of announcements yesterday during cocktail time. I'm sorry about that. First thing I want to tell you, Rebecca Martin White's classes, Storyteller Wool, that she's teaching through Ribbon Candy Hooking, those are available on Ribbon Candy Hooking. So be looking out for those because those classes are coming up. There are 2 classes that are offered. Take a look at those before we close in the next day or so. We close the enrollment on those classes. She's teaching 2 very different classes. One has to do with decorating the lids of mason jars as Christmas gifts, lots of different techniques. The other one is also a great techniques class. She is McGown certified. She's also Oxford certified, using scraps and leftovers to make ornaments. So both of those should be extremely useful for this time of year. You know, she's a great friend of mine. She's a wonderful teacher. You will learn a lot from her classes. So check Ribbon Candy Hooking for Rebecca Martin White's classes, Storyteller Wool, Rebecca from Storyteller Wool. I also want to remind you, okay, so Magpie Times, right? I've got my eye on that like a hawk. As soon as it is available, it's available in Kindle, as this is issue number 4, Marshmallow World, the winter issue. So we are completing a year of Magpie here with this current issue. The paper issue is not ready yet. I'm waiting for the final green light, and then I will post the link. So be looking for that on YouTube. I'll create a written post to give you the link for that on our Facebook page, which is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club, and also in the Ribbon Candy Hooking store. It will be the headliner because that's coming up very soon. Also, I keep forgetting to tell you, I have a few of these left. I made something that will take us through Christmas. Yours is not this size. I've been working on my, if this looks familiar from the video, I'm not going to unfold the whole thing, but I've been working on my, um, it's all gravy. And I turned it into a limited edition special product for the holiday weekend, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, all of that. I created a product that goes along with the video that I'm working on. It's already available on the website in 2 larger sizes, but I created It's All Gravy in a much smaller size. I think this is 15 by 12 sideways. Is that better? I'm looking through it at the screen. It's still upside down. So there we go. So It's All Gravy, and it comes with I forget off the top of my head, but a bunch of ounces of random door wool, right, just to get you going on it, and a bunch of, I'm showing you the actual amounts, antique paisley, right? I just made a mess of this pile, but this is probably enough antique paisley, and it's maybe 4 or 5 different paisleys to do the whole background. So the product comes with this stuff, right? And it's not a kit. We're working on it together over a series of videos. It's not a kit. But it's very possible and easy to do it. I've already done about 3 videos, and I'll probably do 10 more before the month is up. So that's something to think about, because I'm only willing to part with so much of my antique paisley. That's why it's a limited thing, and when it's gone, because I want to keep plenty of paisley for future times. So that's happening. I'm also recording an Amish toothbrush class, and I'm offering a live Amish toothbrush class. So that will be coming up again in December and January. We haven't done that for a while. And I'm using stretch fabric this time to do the Amish toothbrush with the Amish toothbrush tool. So more talk on that later. That product will go up shortly. I'm finishing that rug up. And don't forget, today's Cyber Monday. And that means everything in the Ribbon Candy Hooking store that is sort of digital. Patterns, right? PDFs of patterns are 50% off, and recorded classes are 50% off. So everything that's like electronic is 50% off today, and at the end of the day when I go to sleep, that's over. So so take advantage of that while you can. Another reminder that on December 5th, it will be International Rug Hooking Day, and I will be sitting with you for a few hours, and we will do a project together. So let's talk more about that in a little while, but we have a little bit of time left. And I wanted to say, keeping along the lines of Pearl McGowan and her legacy, we have not talked about her a lot lately. And her first book is called Dreams Beneath the Design. I want to hit that book again in the future, but right now I wanted to focus on and start looking at this book, which is called You Can Hook Rugs. And this book came out in 1951. So Pearl does have 3 other books besides the Dreams Beneath the Design. Now, these books are so charming, and I can come back to them and read them again and again and again. There's so much of a personal voice to the McGowan books. And, 1951, right? At 1951, Pearl has already done some traveling, collected lots of rugs, saved and recorded hundreds of rug patterns, right? From antique rugs, right? She has traveled, she has collected. She has really shored up this craft for all of time. And she is well into her career at this point. This has become a business for her already. This has turned into a career, and she is designing her own rugs, and she is teaching, and the rest literally is history. But this book is a little bit different, because at the beginning of the book, she is talking about lots of patterns, but at the beginning of the book, she's talking more personally to the reader. And I want to look at that part together, because there's so many little nuggets in here that I think are meaningful for us as rug hookers. Let me see. Let me just make sure I know. Okay, so I'm going to come to that slide in just a minute. So the first chapter is called Rose Cottage, right? And that refers to that slide. I just want to give you an idea of what the table of contents is like. So the first chapter is Rose Cottage. We're going to talk about that together. And the second one is Which Are You? We're going to talk about that too. And then she goes into benefits derived, the tools, preparing your pattern and mounting it on a frame, technique, dyeing. She talks about chair seats and lots of basic technique stuff, right? She's teaching with this book. She's teaching. And then she goes into different kinds of flowers, roses, wild roses, tulips, pansies, morning glories, on and on. and shading, right? Foxglove. It's just right up until um, page 114 is broken down into fruit chapters where she's telling you specifically how to hook that particular thing. She moves to fruit and then the little things that count. That's a curious chapter. Let's look at that. I wonder what that. I have to know now. I saw it. Chapter, page number 112. The little things that count. Let's see. I'm jumping ahead of myself, but sometimes it's fun. I'm gonna be wondering. Oh, a chapter on flowers of fantasy. Oh, let's see. The little things that count. There are many quaint and almost primitive flowers in some of my designs. Many of them were taken from heirloom rugs. Often they appear in a design which I have restored unchanged. They have their prior place in antique settings where decoration calls for quaint or primitive patterns. Okay, so she's referring to a specific. Oh, that's the wrong page. Sorry, that's the wrong page. Kind of fit with what we were saying, though, didn't it? Ooh, the little things that count. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It's all in the detail. It's the little things that count. Little flowers need sharp contrast of values to give the effect of partly opened or curving petals. Oh, interesting. I think in this chapter, she's talking about, it's just 2 pages. She's talking about adding small flowers to a composition with a lot of larger flowers. You know how some of these McGowns that we see are just like these lush gardens, and it looks like there's 1,000 flowers in them, and they're all different colors. I think in many of those, the background is just filled, like scatter fill, with little flowers, right? And I think that's probably what that chapter refers to. I have to tell you this though first. I'm gonna stick a card in this book. What does this say? This was in the book. Rug hooking supplies, wools and dyes, the hooking corner. Instruction in traditional rug hooking by appointment only. Joan Stocker, area code 617. Does anybody know Joan Stocker? I'm not sure how old this card was, but I'm using it was being used as a bookmark in there. I was reading this really quickly this morning before I started the show, and I had to share it with you. And I'm going to bring you back here to this slide. So the beginning of the book, the first pages of the book, right? The first pages. There's nothing before it. There's a table of contents, and you turn the page, and it says Rose Cottage. The subject of hooked rugs is interwoven inextricably with the creation of Rose Cottage. Rose Cottage was a dream. It became a reality. It is of this dream that I should like to tell you. Perhaps you've already visited Rose Cottage. You may be familiar with the story behind this home of hooked rugs, but since there are those who are not yet, let me here record it. Rose Cottage is my gift to you, especially you who love to hook rugs. As the realization of my dream, it is a place where you may come and study hooked rugs and to gain inspiration for creative work. It is also my home, encompassing all that the word implies. Sorry, I need another coffee, but remember I'm wearing the wrong glasses. Just saying. Although my hobby later grew into a business, I never lost my love of hooking or my desire to be of service to those who desired to transform my designs into rugs of lasting beauty and loveliness. It all started in 1930 in such a small way when I made my first rug design. My interest grew and expanded as my rugs increased in number. As the first ripple from a petal thrown into a lake reaches out to the distant shores, just so did my interest expand into the lives of many people. This craft is not limited to women. It is shared by men and children too. So in this chapter, she talks about Rose Cottage. Some of you may know this already. I did not. It's very personal. She's talking about, for example, there were challenges too. The one was space. She's talking about being in Rose Cottage, living there and having the teaching space and the sort of exhibiting space there. You have no idea how much truck you can gather when your hobby is hooked rugs. How much truck you can gather. That must be an older expression, right? Or have you? Luckily, I had a large attic which became my workshop, but I needed shelf room mostly. And you can't believe shelves on slanting, and you can't, build shelves on slanting walls. All straight walls were shelved and all closets filled with shelves, and still my stock of supplies kept growing. Ever since I had been, blah, 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 she's talking about shelf trouble for a while. Then she's talking about filling boxes and trunks and bags, now frames, piling everything up. So this whole chapter is about turning her hobby into a business and having Rose Cottage and keeping the rugs in there and having a workshop space. Oh my gosh, my eye just fell on something. Hold on. By 1940, I began to realize that teachers were having problems too. They needed help, and since the revival of this craft was, so to speak, in its infancy, there were too many places for them to turn for help. Oh my gosh, wait a minute, I'm getting excited. Wait. I gave the teacher problem a great deal of thought and decided that by sharing their problems with each other, it would be mutually beneficial. I could do my part too in suggesting and guiding and discussing. Discussion was the thing. Let them bring their rugs to a group meeting and let us have a friendly discussion about them. Why not an exhibit of finished rugs? You can see how one thought led to another, and thus the teacher's annual exhibit was born, with a full day to discuss our common problems before the exhibit was open to the public. The first two were held at the historical old Colonial Inn in Concord, Massachusetts. That's where I just was a couple days ago. That's where we just had Thanksgiving. I did not know this. And the third was held in the Copley Plaza Hotel in Boston. That really is like a step up, isn't it? By 1943, because we were at war and the gasoline shortage made traveling practically impossible, we chose Horticultural Hall in Worcester, Massachusetts. Ooh, interesting. I'm going to stop with that chapter there. Gosh, I wish I read that last week, because I'm going to have to write to the Colonial Inn now and ask what kind of history records they have, if they have any records of those two rug shows being there. Obviously in the 1940s, right? Because if she's saying in 1943, it had already moved to Copley. It must have been 41 and 42 that it was at the Colonial Inn in Concord. That is just amazing. I knew I loved that place. I've always loved that place. But just knowing that Pearl McGown's first two rug shows were there, oh my God. All right. I'm not going to be able to stop smiling. That's exciting. All right, let's see what else we've got going. This really is a beautiful book, and I'm only just scratching the surface here. I'm not reading through all of it with you. I do have more copies of this. And you can find copies in bookstores and online and stuff, but if you really need a copy, I do have some extra copies of this book. This chapter is interesting. It's called Which Are You? And she says, many women have said to me, I've always wanted to hook a rug, and I'm going to someday. But it is the woman who says, I want to hook a rug. How shall I start? That I am most interested in. The first is usually a dreamer, and the second is a realist. And I like action. The strange part of it is that this urge often gets, let me come back here for a second while we read. This urge often gets, where was I? I know what she's going to say already. This urge often gets those who are sure they are immune to this craft. Years ago, a young wife dropped into a neighbor's class and brought her crocheting. She scoffed at the rug work and said, I'd much prefer to crochet. Yet, she frequently left her work to watch progress on the rugs. As they were disbanding, she said, don't laugh now, but I think I'll try one rug. Just one, because I must finish my tablecloth. That was the piece she was crocheting. She's been making rugs ever since, beautiful ones, and the tablecloth is still unfinished. That's a great anecdote, isn't it? Hooking is not difficult. It can be very creative by the simple process of pulling up little strips of colored woolens through the mesh burlap. You create a rose, a leaf, or tendril. These bits of color become very precious to each rugger. They store them away like gold, and usually know just where to find each piece of material, which happens to be the exact color that they need at that moment. That is so true, isn't it? No matter how big of a stash you've got, you do tend to know where your pieces are. That's funny. That hasn't changed at all. Just try to get such a precious color away from them. You may have my blood, but not my rugs, they say. Yes, Judge. This is in quotes. I guess this can be a little joke. Yes, Judge. I suppose I am guilty, but please, let me tell you why. I've been making a hooked rug, a big one, and it was done, all but a few square inches, and I ran out of material and could not match it anywhere. When I saw this man's coat, I knew it was a perfect match. Everything went black. When I came to, a cop was grabbing me as I ran down the street with the coat. It's a perfect match. Your Honor, if I plead guilty and go to jail, can I keep the coat? That's so cute. She doesn't reference where that little story is from, but that is so cute. Maybe she wrote that. A cute little thing. And so this urge to create becomes a dominant possessive force. If you make the effort, you too can find time to hook and fulfill this wish of your heart. Don't let hooking be driven into the background of your life through a complex of being too busy. Think over the needless duties or occupations which sap your energy and spend that time on this creative work. Set aside and respect that hour or two when you can be alone with your thoughts and your rugs. Abandonment of occupation is not rest. A mind vacant is a mind distressed. Lose yourself in this creative craft, even if you have to step lively to keep up with it. Then, too, think what you derive from your effort, not only the thrill of creating, but satisfaction of adding something to your own personality, to your home. The great Ruskin said, "I would have our dwelling houses built to be lovely, as rich and full of pleasantness as may be within, and with such differences as might suit and express each man's character and occupation, and partly his history." Isn't that just what you're doing when you hook? An artistic hook drug gives you an air of distinction and gives an air of distinction to your room. It may be expressive of your character, and when made of intimate and sentimental materials, it can be a part of your history. Oh, that is just so, oh, that almost choked me up. That is so pretty. One more thing. I just want to show you this rug. And this is my last slide for today. So this is called Grazia. And it says, if you are positive in your thinking and you are ready to begin any piece of handiwork once your interest is aroused, you may travel a long way beyond your own imagination. This was the experience of a woman who became a teacher after she was 70 years of age. She made a lovely rug of this design. It's number 400 Grazia, 38 by 64 inches, and accompanied it to one of our exhibits. One of the subtle details she hooked into the rug was the grayish mauve tips of her leaves in the corner, which reflected the deep rose shades in her roses. Ooh, her enthusiasm for the craft brought many women to her home for lessons, for her own health was too frail to travel about to her pupils. They brought the outside world into her home and made long hours seem like minutes. This is an extremely simple scroll to develop, especially if you use several values of just one hue, in other words, a swatch set. Greens, like the leaves, or running to the extreme of the blue-greens or yellow-greens, make it a restful rug in any room. And for your interest, the scrolls may shade from one to the other extreme, blue-greens into yellow-green knobs, with the yellow-green dominating in the leaves. The flowers are very simple to hook. The fluctuating pattern in the rug illustrated, that's this one here, was either a spot-dyed material or two or three slightly differing values of one color hooked in a modeled manner. So if you look closely, I'm going to put the bookmark in there. If you look closely, you can see at the bottom, closer, oh, hey, Anita, closer to the, oh, you just got in from the optometrist. I hope it went well. Oh, lots of snow up there in Canada, I bet. Oh, Karen says, I got a stewardess interested in rug hooking last night on our flight back. Good for you, Karen. That's great news on the way back from Maryland. So you just came back. She loves dabbling in crafts and was very curious about what you were doing. Oh, that is great outreach. Remember I said on the program the other day, if we all at some point this week just sit somewhere and work on our hooking somewhere public and see, I bet you anything someone will stop and go, ooh, is that crocheting? Is that latch hook? It's great to get other people involved by showing, right? That's the ultimate form of outreach. You can see that this example, Grazia, is a little bit modeled, right? If you look around the perimeter, the inside is a little bit lighter, but you can see kind of veining, marbling, and streaking on the outside. It's hard with these black and white photographs. It's hard to see what you're looking at. And they are black and white photographs because of the age of the book. I just saw one color. I think there's one color in here. Maybe there's two. I think there's just, yeah, there's a few actually. There's maybe 5. I have to show you this. I want to, oh, this is so cute. I want to read some more before we get together again. But I opened to this by accident. And we were just talking about Rose Cottage, right, where Pearl McGown lived and where she set up her workshop and where she taught, right? and displayed all of these rugs that she'd collected. That's like a little advertisement for it. Isn't that just the sweetest? So I wrote this morning to Liz Marino and I said, can you tell me anything about Rose Cottage? Because it was Pearl McGown's home and it is part of our legacy as rug hookers and our duty, I think, to be, our pleasure and our duty to be interested in all of the, there's so few little threads that lead to the past, aren't there? But it turns out that Rose Cottage is still there and it's being used as a bed and breakfast. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone really quick. It's in New York State. The name of the book is, I'll show it to you right here while I pull this up. Is it here? Hold on, sorry. Nope. Is it here? Nope. Gotta be this one. There we go. Hold on, let me pull it up. It is in, let's see, Rose Cottage. Lud is something New York. There it is. Okay, let's see. Location. Rose Cottage, DeBruce.com. It's in DeBruce, New York. At least I think this is the right one. I think it is. I'm just comparing the photograph on the website to the photograph here. Let me see. You know, I'm not sure that's the same. It might be. I can't see the whole house in the cover picture. You'll have to tell me what you think. And I'm going to ask Liz if this is the right one. So obviously it would be very different, obviously. But this is Sullivan County, by the way. But in any case, I'm going to chase that as well because I'm curious to go. I would love to go and see Rose Cottage, Pearl McGown's former home. I'm going to save this bookmark too, Joan Stocker. Let me know if anybody knew Joan Stocker. It could be that that's still there and that that's a new card. It's in an old book. Mine is missing most of the cover. But like I say, I do have other copies of this book with the cover on it, so it'd be fun to read it. It is actually a wonderful read. Good. I'm all caught up with comments. You know what? I'm going to go do some work and get some stuff done. I've got a bunch of stuff to share with you. I will put out the newsletter. We're going to do it yesterday. I think we should do it today. Everything's just been wild and crazy coming off of the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm going to catch up with a little bit of work, and I will otherwise see you. On Friday, I will be in Delaware because I'm going to the meeting of the Wilmingtons on Saturday. So let's put in another show this week. Let me think about when that would be, and I'll get back to you on that. I will either run a show Wednesday or Thursday. So let me figure out how the week is going to play out. In the meantime, have a great couple of days, everybody. I will see you soon. If you want me, I am at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. If you want to talk about Magpie Times or anything, you can find me there. And remember, the upcoming issue of Magpie, the deadline is February 1st, and the theme is busy bees, like buzzing bees, like little black and yellow bees. Anything you like that's spring. Andrea, send me an email and let me know what's going on with you.